Do I have time to get a pair? Oh, oh, sorry. Hi. Not yet. Maybe one day. Great. How are you? Thanks for having me. Yes, we do. Chaotic most days. My husband is home full time now. He usually travels to work and is not home more than a couple days a week. So that's been a big change, having him home 24/7 every week. And the kids are home too. So we're both trying to work and manage being stay-at-home parents and all that that entails. So it's been interesting, but it's a lot of it's been really nice, I have to say. Um, Usually the kids are piling into our bed around 6:30 a.m. and then it's nonstop from there until 9, 10 p.m. Um, I tried to make a schedule for them in the beginning because I thought that that's what they would need. And so we would get up and do breakfast and then exercise videos, and then we'd start some schoolwork. But as this has evolved, I found that I need to let them sort of do it on their time and less on my time, the school stuff. And then they seem to have a little bit more fun with it. So we're not on a schedule these days. You did. There it is. Yes. Oh, is that an A? Yeah. Probably. I did broadcast this on my Instagram, so I may have a patient or friend listening in right now. We don't want to confuse anyone. There we go. Looks better. It's there. It's just cut off. It's a tough name. I gotta tell you, I thought this name would be easier than my maiden name, and it's been worse. So thank you, darling. Well, we put the kids to bed at 8, but then my husband is often still on phone calls up till 10, 11 o'clock at night. So then the cleanup starts. What? I'm, yeah. They're doing a really nice delivery thing now where you can get all the ingredients and make the burger yourself at home. So people love that. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Right. Strategic commandeering of the home office. So, we try and balance out our schedules. I'm now just starting to get back into my office at work, so I am seeing some patients there on a very limited basis. So, it's a lot more balance in terms of, um, you know, we make sure they get a lot of outdoor activities so that when we're both needing to work, that's when the iPads come out and the ABC Learning app comes out, and so that's that we clock that as learning for them. Yes. Right. I mean, I think on one level, this is such a gift that we get to really experience how other people work and live, and certainly the role of the teacher. And not that I've ever undervalued a teacher, but now I really understand what it takes to be one. And it's mind boggling for me, not a skill I have. Um, and yeah, it's just changed my perspective on a lot of things. I'm a full-time surgeon, and so I've always had childcare, and obviously that's been invaluable to me. But just how does my nanny get through the day with them some days? I mean, I know they're always more difficult with mom. That's sort of a known entity, but just thinking about the different ways that they're kept engaged with somebody else and trying to sort of mimic that as the mom, it's hard. So I appreciate everybody more than ever before, even though, they're not with me right now. Our nanny hasn't been with us for a month now, but every day I think of her and I'm appreciative of everything that she's done thus far and can't wait for her to come back. So, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm fortunate. My kids are preschool age. I'm not, I don't have teenagers in the house who are missing their senior year um, the little bit, middle school. And, they actually need to be learning. My kids, if we go over the alphabet and some handwriting and colors and we go out into the yard and look at the plants and the insects, I think that's learning. And that's, I check that box for the day that I got their learning in. Right. Hmm. Well, I was getting quite busy. This is my third year, 3.5 years I've been in private practice here in Huntington. And, everyone tells you when you go into private practice, it takes 3 to 5 years to build a true solid following. And, I'd been doing a lot more surgeries. I have a lot more Botox patients and skincare patients. And everything came to a screeching halt very suddenly. We sort of the data was coming in on what this was looking like, how we were going to be affected, and we closed the office, and that was it. I didn't hear from a single refer or patient for almost a month, and so that was hard. Well, part of it was fear. You get to a point where you're just starting to really take off, and how am I ever going to get this back? And the other part is people are dying from this. This is a bad virus. This is a bad disease, and part of me felt a little irrelevant being a plastic surgeon in the midst of all of this. And so, who am I to even be sad about my career stalling right now when people are fighting to save lives? So, and I'm very ancillary on many levels. So, there was a lot of that too. And so, it was a struggle. No, sure. Yeah, I've had some lacerations, and a lot more people are making their own lunch at home. So I've had the knife injury to the hand, or a friend's husband is building a new closet and he got his finger caught in a saw. So I've had some of those sorts of things. Kids are always playing and falling, and so I've had a little bit of that. And we've been doing our part to keep people out of the emergency room and taking care of everyone in our office.
Buzz. How's that? Better?
Me listen.
Well, it's on now.
Yeah.
Okay, hanging up. Thanks. Bye. How many shows do you get like technical support during the show where somebody calls up? How, how would that be if like you were in the operating room and like the guy who owns your practice comes in and goes, "No, not that scalpel. Use the other one."
Yeah, I mean, sometimes.
Really?
Sure, you want to do that? No, never.
That's pretty funny.
No, it's very collaborative, our practice, which is why I love it.
Yeah,
We
that's
are
really
often
cool.
operating together.
Okay, so now you're like, it's not good. I mean, we all went through this. Even me as a
Right,
streamer, I was just going like this. And then all of a
right,
sudden, it didn't stop because people still needed some streaming, but it just went like that,
right,
right? And so I was a little concerned, but yours just dropped out of the bottom.
right.
W-
I went to zero.
Did you were you thinking the worst? Like, oh my God, this is it, it's over? Now I got to rebuild from scratch again?
Of course. Yeah. But, our electronic medical record that we have in our office thankfully built in a telemedicine app. So we were able to get that up and running 2 weeks ago. And so I've started to see patients again that way. Um, and people are also not as strict about staying at home. So I am seeing an uptick in minor injuries that I need to address either in the ER or in my office. So I have been seeing a lot more patients in the last 2 weeks.
Does
So
it
I'm feeling
concern you that people are coming in?
um, you know, I think that everyone's being smart, or at least everyone I've been in who I've encountered as being smart. We're, trying to stay home and wear a mask and wash our hands. And so I'm not as fearful of going into the ER or even into my office as I was a month ago. We have all the things in place to not have anyone be in the office at the same time, patients, and we have all our protective gear and hand wash. So we're doing the best we can.
If you have time, if you can think of it, send me that picture of you.
Oh, I did text it. Yeah,
You sent it already?
I did.
Uh,
Text or email?
email.
Okay.
But anyway, so you thought the worst, how long did it take until you started to see things change a little bit? Was it immediately after you got the app that allows you to handle appointments and consults?
I did transition some of my chronic patients. I do some lower extremity reconstruction. And so those patients, I was able to transition to telemedicine because I know what their exam is baseline, and I just need to see on a weekly basis how they've changed. And then also a lot of my follow-ups that people I've, sutured their lacerations, if I don't have to take out those stitches, I can have them follow up via telemedicine. And so that's nice. I think that gives people a good sense of security that they're not further exposing themselves, because nobody wants to be in the ER right now. And certainly they don't want to be in a doctor's office either if they don't have
Sure.
to. And so I'm fortunate that we can do that.
What are the kind of consults that you do over the internet?
So I just did a breast reduction consult actually this week on a young woman. And that was really nice because, my field is so visual. So I was able to have the patient send me photos before our visit, and I could evaluate her fairly thoroughly. I mean, as much as you can do without a physical exam, but again, just seeing her body habitus is really enough to sort of decide whether or not she's a good candidate. And then I do the regular consultation, what the motivations are, what the symptoms there are, a question and answer about what to expect, how the surgery goes, what's the recovery, how to prepare for it. And the nice thing too is that she had her mom and all of her aunts there with her who'd all had this surgery prior. So I don't imagine that, she would have 4 people in the room with her if she had come to my office. So I think that gave her a little bit more, she was young, she was in her early 20s. So I think that made her feel maybe secure as well to have them
Yeah.
all there, just ask questions that maybe she didn't know what to ask.
Sure. I'm sorry. I can imagine that a lot of your patients are still like, they have a lot of questions to be answered. They want to have connection with you. And they were probably just as concerned as you were, like, well, how am I going to get in touch with Dr. Grift? And
Right.
now that they can have that connection with you, they probably feel a lot more comfortable.
Absolutely. And, a lot of what I do is really a relationship. They want to be comfortable with me, and I want to be comfortable with them, and that their expectations are appropriate and whatnot. So, and I think that's more than you can achieve on a phone call for sure. I mean, we were doing phone call follow-ups for a little while before we got the telemedicine video up and running. And I think that there's things you just can't convey on, just by voice alone. I think eye to eye is really important in making a connection with somebody.
Sure. And if you can't see them face to face, at least you can see them via computer.
Right.
But I have a question. A lot of times we don't get the best video connections. Can you tell enough sometimes when you don't have a great connection? You're not like seeing sometimes in great detail.
Right. So I try and get photos sent to my, I have a HIPAA compliant email. My Cold Spring Plastic Surgery email is HIPAA compliant. So I have them send photos before the visit so I can see. Because, yeah, it's not great enough to do an eval in real time.
So you can talk to them, but you look at the pictures, which have much greater detail.
I do. I mean, there's some things you could see, but a lot of, I don't know how comfortable people would necessarily be to, be half undressed on video, and I don't feel comfortable necessarily asking them unless they're comfortable. So at least if they're sending me photos to a secure account, and
Yeah.
I've even said, if you don't want to send them to me ahead of time, you want to meet me via telemedicine first and send them while we're talking, I'm okay with that too. Because that's security and privacy issues with that.
Sure.
We're HIPAA compliant, but who knows with.
Are you getting more calls about people who have had surgery or people who want to have surgery?
People who want to have surgery.
So there's still so people are starting to think. I would bet that in the beginning people weren't thinking about that, but then after a couple of weeks they started going, I still want to get that surgery. I still want to talk to my doctor about that. And
Right. Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's interesting. I've had a couple of friends reach out to me and say, you're going to be really busy when this is over, because with all of the video conferencing, we are looking at ourselves more than we ever have before. And so people are becoming more aware of even, facial things and and my skin looks terrible. What should I be doing? I get a lot of that, or oh, I might be heading towards a facelift sooner than I thought.
Right.
Tell me more about that. So that's sort of another interesting spin on this.
And do they bring up the safety factor, like Dr. Vandergrift? Is it safe for me to go to the hospital, or is it safe for me to do this procedure in your office? Do they have those types of questions?
A little bit. I mean, we're not scheduling surgeries yet. There's no, the hospitals are just asking us to make a list of our priority cases and submit them. So I don't know when we're going to get the go ahead to do elective cases. I'm assuming hopefully by June or July. And so that's the rough estimate I'm giving my patients who are looking to have surgery sooner than later. Um, but don't forget, I mean, the conversion rate in plastic surgery in general isn't very high. And so, a lot of my consults are really just an information getting setting. And I tell patients that, if you meet me, you're going to come back. We're going to have another conversation, maybe two, before you schedule surgery. I'm not looking to get people in and out like a mill here. I want my patients to be comfortable with me. I want them to be comfortable with the choice that they're making and the surgery they're going to have. And so, there's no pressure to have this done.
Yeah, I know from our last conversation with you, it's not about the numbers for you because you really like to do quality work, and it's about the patient. It's about if I remember correctly, it's about your connection with the patient. And I think if I remember correctly, you said, I really like to make people happy. Like that's the biggest thing to you.
Right.
Is making them
Yeah.
happy.
I mean, that's why I went into this.
Right. Yeah,
because I'm not curing cancer. I'm not saving lives. So what am I doing? I want people to be happy. I want them to be confident. I want them to feel good about themselves. That's really the crux of my career.
Right. With what's going on now, do you see the style of what you're doing consults, do you see this changing permanently? Do you see this as a stopgap? Tell me your thoughts on that.
I do. I would love to see this become a permanent part of my sort of flow for the week. I have patients that come see me from New Jersey and from Montauk, and that's a haul. We're talking 2 hours of traveling each way. And so if there's something that I can, if I can do a procedure on them and then do some of their follow-ups via telemedicine, I mean, that's fantastic for them. The other issue is childcare. I mean, I feel it myself, and a lot of my patients maybe can't get in, or they're working and they can't get into my office during normal, 10 to 4 hours. So I could do a consult, later in the evening, earlier in the morning, and then they don't have to worry about getting childcare or having to ask for a whole afternoon off of work or, something like that. So I think this is going to turn out to be great in terms of access. For me and my patient.
I agree, because people just either they can't get there or it's just more convenient.
Right.
But I don't see it as being like the be all end all. I still think you're going to have a lot of face to face.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my Botox and fillers and lasers, that's all mandatory in my office procedures, but certainly the information getting part of a consultation and the follow-up, like I said, sending photos, and then having a phone call or video call, shortly thereafter, I think will help a lot. And even I have some telemedicine visits with some of my chronic patients who are in rehab facilities, and it's hard to get transport sometimes. And so the nurses have capabilities of doing telemedicine, right from their room. And so that frees up a lot of staff and time and energy trying to transport those patients.
When you say transporting the patients, what do you mean?
Oh, when they're at rehab facilities, or some of my elderly patients that are in nursing homes after they've been in the hospital, and if they had a big orthopedic procedure and they need to, have some rehab afterwards. Sometimes I need to see them before their orthopedic surgeon does. And so they're often still in rehab when I'm looking at their wounds or their, how they're healing.
Gotcha.
And so I think that ability will change.
Where do you see it going? Do you see it going past the consult stage?
I think the follow-ups is really going to be the biggest part of this. I think the ability to do follow-ups via telemedicine is really going to be the great reliever of people's schedules and time and whatnot.
So you see consult, and you see follow-ups.
Right.
Do you see yourself, hold on a second. Do you see yourself being able to do a lot more with a lot less because this technology is so accessible?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think
Absolutely.
it's going to stimulate the growth of your practice, almost like build it and they will come?
I mean, I hope so. I think being accessible is a huge part of, um, being a successful surgeon. There's the three A's: the availability, the ability, and the affability. So, um, having telemedicine just gives you more availability. Gives you, if one of my kids is sick or I can't get into work, I can still see my consults from home if I had to. Patients again who are coming from far away, if they're able to do their follow-up online, then that simplifies their life too, and I think that could give me an advantage potentially if that I'm willing to do that. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be willing to do that now that we see that it works and patients are okay with it, but that certainly just gives them another option.
I totally see this as the new norm. I totally see it as the new norm. I don't think there's any going back.
Right.
And I believe a lot of your patients are going to be, before COVID, it'd be like, I don't want to do this by the internet. I want to come to your office. I'm going to
Right.
say that they're going to start embracing it after this.
It's true. There was actually a study done in one of our plastic surgery journals that looked at this. And before the telemedicine visit, I think over 75% of patients said, no way, I need to see my doctor after my procedure. And then afterwards, I think 90 something percent were excited to see their doctor after on telemedicine after they'd experienced it. So I think people just don't know. I think they don't trust the process unless they have experience with streaming and online and things like that. And I think for the older population in particular, it's harder for them because it's not something they're used to navigating. Um, but yeah, I think that this would be great to be a regular part of my practice from here on out.
What do you
I think
think
it's
about the
interesting.
fact? Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, a lot of my friends who are office based, who were commuting into the city every day, their companies are starting to realize how much more people can really do from home, and they're downsizing their office spaces and getting new leases. I mean, I think that's huge. I think we're going to have a whole
Huge.
shift in culture of
Yeah.
being, recognize that we can work from home and people do need more flexibility and they can still get their work done.
And can you also see your patients more often by using telemedicine?
Probably, yeah, because if I'm more accessible to them and they have more free time, if they're not held to the constraints of their 9 to 5 job, then they're, they're able to log in and schedule a visit certainly more easily than if they had to come into my office.
Excuse me, sorry. Right, so you'll be able to see them more often, which they'll be happier about. You'll be able to see
Right.
more patients. I can only see it helping build the practice. I only see it helping build the
Absolutely.
practice.
Absolutely.
By the way, you can also do seminars
That's true too.
because now that consults are the norm, are becoming the new norm to do, people are getting used to it. Therefore, there's other things that you can do now to promote the practice and to educate the community.
Right.
So you could actually do like seminars now. So instead of having people come into your office for a seminar, which takes more
Right.
time, it's more expense, you can have seminars online.
Absolutely.
And you can either do those by Zoom, or you can up the bar and use a company like the Streamcast Network.
Absolutely. I will get there yet, I promise.
I know you will. It's gonna. I
It's
remember what I said. I said it could be a couple of years, but
It's
I'll get
coming.
you.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's just
I
gonna
mean,
take
there
time.
is there
But
is a part of this field though that is hands-on, obviously, and so I can't discount that or minimize that. That the there is still the physical exam and there's still the in-person interaction,
mhm,
and even webinars and things like that are great because you can
yep,
probably access people who again can't come in after work or don't have childcare at night. But there's something to be said about this sort of spirit of having an open house in my office and meeting new people and
totally.
having that
I,
sort of
I
that
totally
air of
agree.
excitement.
What I believe is you're going to see a combination of both,
Yes,
right? So I think in the beginning, people are going to be skittish about coming into your office for a seminar because of social distancing.
that is true.
I believe
That is.
that we haven't even seen, we're at the tip of the iceberg. We're not even at the tip of the iceberg of PTSD of this.
Oh, absolutely.
And when this is over, I think the PTSD is going to be awful. And I believe that you're going to be doing more and more of these. You're going to be doing more, you're going to start doing seminars. Whether you do them on your own using Zoom or you use a company to do it, you're going to be doing seminars. And it won't be until we have a vaccine that people will really start feeling comfortable.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, maybe we can get to a point where we have herd immunity or we really have it under control that people can go, but you're going to have a lot more social distancing and you're going to get people in the beginning who don't want to come in for seminars. And even
Right.
after they do, you're going to have more requests for seminars than you can handle and set up for, and it's going to be all part of your mix. That's what I'm
Right.
willing to
Yeah,
bet.
I think that's exciting. I mean, that would be great. One thing people say all the time, we've had people in our office during the week and how do you guys wear these masks? This is horrible. Like people hate putting the mask on. They do it, they understand why, but they hate it. So yep, there it is. I have two masks on in that picture, to be fair. I mean, that was um so we don't need to do the mask thing this way. I mean, I saw a follow-up today, a patient I had seen in the ER last week, and he never saw my whole face because I was wearing that when I met him last week. And so
Right, so you could have had this like really big hook nose and like just I still don't get the big lips, by the way.
I don't either. I know we talked about that last time.
Yeah. So, but in this picture, you have on the cap. What's the black thing above the cap? That's not attached to you, is it?
It's the top of the face shield. I had the face shield sort
Oh,
of pulled
gotcha.
up to snap the photo.
Right. So
Um,
then you have the face shield.
yep.
Then you have a surgeon's mask, and then you have your N95 mask, right?
Yes. Yes.
So really, you have
Because you
three
only get
layers.
one in 5, so you have to put a surgeon's mask over that so that it's reusable.
How uncomfortable is that?
It's not great, but I can't complain. I was only there for 2 hours. My friends, one of my best friends is an ER doc here, and she wears that for 8, 10, 12 hours. So
Wow.
I'm not complaining. But yeah, it's tough. Those shields, there's a huge glare. I mean, you have it on because you're dealing with somebody's face, but I wound up having to take it off, and I had my glasses on, so I
Right.
felt still protected because you can't see through it in
Did you have
detail.
regular glasses on, or did you have those
I mean,
glasses where they're what's
the
that safety?
surgical loop.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, surgical loop. Got it.
Yeah,
Wow, that's pretty wild.
yeah.
So I used to do. I owned a company that built online training, and we were doing online training way before even colleges and universities did online education. And I always said that face to face is still the best way to educate and train people, that you cannot get away from that. I felt
Right.
that pre-course material was good before our training, face-to-face training, so people could get up to speed before they go. And then
Right.
follow up continuum, continually training people after the face-to-face. And I
Right.
think the same is true for what you do, and we were just talking about that, and I wanted to bring that up, is that, yeah, I think you're right, that face-to-face should never go away. People like that.
Right.
And also we're social animals.
Absolutely. I mean, the video is nice, but I definitely feel I can have a greater connection in my, in the office with my patients than I can here. But this is a great start. It's a great stepping stone when I can't bring elective healthy patients into my office for a cosmetic surgery consultation. So it's bridging that gap, and I'm happy to have it, quite frankly.
So you talked about consults and you talked about follow-up. Have you thought about because what's going to happen is you're going to all of a sudden have these epiphanies and you're going to go, oh, wait a minute, I can use telemedicine for this and I can use telemedicine for that. Have you thought about the other ways that you can use it?
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a surgeon, so my true office is in the operating room.
True.
So um, I know people stream surgeries and things like that. That's not a big part of who I am or who we are as a practice.
Yeah.
Is something we could visit down the road, perhaps. Um, but I don't want it to take away from just, the surgery.
Yeah. As a matter of fact,
So,
that guy Ryan who was on with us before, ready for this one? He streams funerals.
well, I mean,
He streamed a
funerals,
dozen.
weddings,
What's that?
these
Yeah.
are weird times we're in. I mean, I know people who've gotten married during this, and
Yeah.
they have their family on Zoom.
They
So I think
couldn't.
we're just all trying to do the best we can.
Yeah. They couldn't have more than 10 people at the funeral in his state. He lives in Maryland. So they
Yeah.
would have 10 people, and then he's been hired. He said at first, he thought, is this really right that I should do this? But he said, I'm really helping families grieve. So only
Oh,
10 people could
absolutely.
show up to the funeral, but then he streams it so that family members from all around the country could still see and be part of this service.
That's wonderful. I mean,
That's, yeah,
yeah.
it's actually pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
do you want to drop some words of wisdom on us and like where we can find you and all that kind of stuff?
I am on Instagram and Facebook, M Vandergrift MD. My practice is also Cold Spring Plastic Surgery, which we are located in Huntington, New York, just north of Main Street in the Village. Um, we're excited for this new technology. Like I said, I think this is opening up a whole new avenue for us for being available to our patients and providing education. And I'm excited to see where this goes.
So am I.
And
There's so many industries that I look at and go, how are they going to use this? And look at you. You're only a few weeks in, and you're already using it effectively. And what's so great is, like at the beginning, you were like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" And now you're seeing how you can use it to adapt, to
right,
build your business. And I
right,
think it's practices, businesses, organizations that figure out ways to adapt, who are actually going to become stronger after we get out of the shelter in place. I am totally convinced of that.
absolutely.
I have one client in Manhattan, they're in the advertising industry, and they not only didn't they waver when this all happened, the senior vice president of marketing called me and said, not only aren't we stopping, but can you do 3 shows a week for us instead of 1? And can
Wow.
I do that from my house? And can we have guests in from around the country? And I just went, yup.
Yes, please.
Cha-ching! Anyway, yeah. Oh, you have a comment from, oh wow, you got a couple of comments here. Tara Fitzgerald Tortora
Yes.
says, Dr. Vandergrift is amazing, exclamation point. You know what, we're gonna have to get a bigger door behind you to get you out of there. Then you have Doreen Felon.
Mm-hmm.
She says, Dr. V is the best. That's pretty cool. That's really great that you have people just like commenting on here like this. It's really cool because we really didn't promote it that much, but I think that's really cool. Hey, if you guys, before we go, we were going to go, but if you guys have any questions for Dr. Vandergrift, bring them on. And don't make them easy.
Make me work.
What's that?
I said, make me work tonight.
Yeah, that's well, you probably are going to work tonight. Well, you don't stop till 9:30 anyway. You know what? There's going to come a point, Meredith, where like you're going to be done. You're going to jump in bed. All of a sudden, your kids are going to run and jump into bed, and you're going to be on your laptop doing a consult at 10 p.m.
Yep.
Yeah,
Potentially.
yeah. So it doesn't look like we have any more questions, although we do have some people watching now. Guys, why did you wait so long to start watching? Seriously? But this will be online. Oh, there was one more thing. Do you actually speak about coronavirus? Like, did you do any research, search and study, and are there questions
Yeah.
that come up? And
Yeah, I mean, I'm the only physician in my family and certainly in my circle of friends or one of. So I'm trying to keep up on the literature because people are asking me all the time what this means, what should I be doing? And so I'm part of a Facebook group that's international. So the Italian doctors and the German doctors are all chiming in with their experiences, and I read that every night. And I'm trying to keep up with the trials and things. And like I said, one of my best friends is in the ER here in Huntington, and so I obviously am speaking with her all the time, and she's giving me updates on what she's seeing and doing. And so yeah, I'm trying to keep on top of this because I feel like my responsibility as a surgeon or a physician, even though I'm not on the front lines, is to help provide the facts about what this is doing and what this virus is all about, because there's so much misinformation online.
It's so important. You know, I've been trying to get doctors on from Northwell for a
Hmm.
show, but I can't get them to come on. I don't know why. And like this
They're
show, like it's sponsored by the Huntington Chamber of Commerce. I really want to get them on. I would love to have you come on like a little bit more regularly if you wanted to talk about coronavirus. Would you be interested in that?
sure.
If we brought you on for like, I don't know, every once in a while we brought you on for like a 5-minute segment so you could tell us, hey,
Yeah,
this is what's
absolutely.
going on. You talk about how it's affecting your practice, but also in general, your thoughts on coronavirus.
Yeah, I would love that.
And you could become like our in-house expert.
How trustworthy is a plastic surgeon as the in-house coronavirus expert?
Hey, if you do your research, who
I will
cares?
say I am a general surgeon first, and I spent many a day and night in the ICUs at big city hospitals. So
Right.
I've managed some vents in my day, so it's not completely foreign anymore.
No, it's not only is it foreign, but you're involved in all these groups, and you,
Right,
better than anybody, can interpret the information because you are a physician.
right, and that's huge because these news, on the evening news, they put out Johns Hopkins published this. Okay, but what does it actually mean? And it's taking out the buzzwords and the hype and actually looking at the study to see if the hype is really there, and what we should really be taking away from these. And is this meaningful at all, or is it just the evening news and they just wanted to get viewership and it's clickbait? So I do deal a lot with that too.
Yeah.
Again, friends texting me, what does this mean? And I have to say nothing. Carry about your
Yeah.
day. That meant nothing.
So after the show, stay on because let's talk about that. Because I would be really interested in having you come on and doing like a segment on this stuff because you're a physician, you're involved in the thick of it, and people will value your opinion. And I think it'd be really good to have you on.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll talk about that. So anyway, it was awesome having you on as usual,
Thank you for having me
and
back.
I look forward to the day where we can have you back in the studio.
Me too.
Yeah. And next week, we're having on a guy by the name of Ellis Hennigan. Ellis used to be a writer for Newsday. He's also written tons of books. He's on TV as an expert. So Ellis will be on next Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Hold on a second. I got to do this. I got to put on that. And we got to do that. And I got to look in the camera. So we'll be on next Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Look, hello, I'm famous. And so we'll see you next Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. We have no credits tonight. I'm very sorry. We'll just roll the open again. Everybody have a great week, and we will see you next Tuesday.